Aye.
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 Members opposed, unmute and indicate by saying no.
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 The noes have it, and the amendment is not agreed to.
Get a recorded vote.
Mr. Recorded vote asking postponed, asked for and postponed until as per prior announcement. Representative Rosendale, you have,
Inquiry.
yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. On our list, we were told number 18 was next. We just went to 28. Would you mind sharing with us the next few amendments, or ask your staff to, just so we have clarity on which ones we're doing, please?
Rosendale, Westerman, and Bobert are next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Representative Rosendale, you have the next amendment designated as number 2, and you are recognized for 5 minutes, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. And I really believe that this is an amendment that we can get bipartisan support on. This amendment, literally, the legislation proposes a takings without compensation. The government can't diminish the use of someone's land or take their property without due compensation. And right now, the legislation proposes to do just that. And all I'm trying to achieve is to protect property rights, whether that's the state's lands, which we have 5.2 million acres of state school trust lands, or whether it's private property. We're not shifting funds around, we're protecting property rights. And I think everyone on this committee would agree to that. The amendment would simply protect the property rights of states and private landowners from the wildlife corridor conservation and grassland restoration sections of the bill. In the West, we've seen time and time again that the federal agencies attempt to expand their jurisdiction, infringing on state and private land and water rights. With teams of lawyers, endless funding, and all the time in the world to wait, the federal agencies are usually able to prevail over private landowners who don't always have the money for lawyers to defend themselves. We also have seen well-meaning programs weaponized and used as cudgels to wreak havoc in rural America. Because this text is so overly broad, these sections could very well be used against states and private landowners in this exact same manner. For example, it's unclear what will happen to a private landowner's fence should their property be located in the middle of a wildlife corridor. Will they be forced to take it down? Will the agency make their life difficult to use this money to buy their land? The truth is that we don't know. How are we supposed to manage our cattle? How are we supposed to keep our horses, all of these animals, in their proper pastures without fencing? And we don't know if this legislation would prohibit that. That's why I introduced this amendment, to make sure that these well-meaning initiatives do not end up disenfranchising the farmers and the ranchers and other hardworking Americans, many of which I represent. I urge my colleagues to support this amendment. This amendment simply prohibits the government from taking over control of an individual or a state's land. And I want to be clear that a vote against this amendment is simply a vote against private property rights. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I would reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back. There's no reserving. The gentleman yields back. Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Hearing none. The question is on Rosendale Amendment number 2 to the ANS, and those members in favor, please unmute and indicate by their favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Members opposed can unmute and indicate their opposition by saying no.
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 In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it. The noes have it, and the amendment is not agreed to.